course, this man at Lockheed, this Pakistani, said a problem that the British had. They sent their most unsuccessful of people, the worst of the people, over to govern Britain, because the best of the governors remained behind in Britain, so they sent the ones who could not govern and incapable. The fact is, for any European to come in and try to govern India was going to be a difficult job at best. Because, again, the people of India had some practices that were very much against the mores or the morals of the Europeans. Your book, again, talks about the economy. In one word, folk, the economy consists of farming. Women, your book talked about how the women were adept at spinning thread. The spinning wheel was a big part of Indian culture. And keep this in mind, because later we're going to run into a man named Gandhi who used the spinning wheel as his example of going back the old ways. Now, the spinning wheel, folk, with all due respect, is a primitive way to spin yarn. The British, then the Europeans, and the Americans went through what's called the Industrial Revolution, where they found better ways to make cloth, to make higher quality cloth and better cloth and put it out cheaper. But the Indian women were great at, again, spinning, using a spinning wheel. Your book talks about how that women did make some advances during the Mughal rule. They became allowed to inherit land, allowed to own property, and even sometimes took care of business activities. But for the most part, they were relegated to the role of second-class citizens. And in this context, I don't see where your book mentions the practice of zange, or the practice of the women throwing themselves on a fire when their husbands died. Now, I mean, keep in mind, if a 9-year-old girl marries a 40-year-old man, make one big guess as to which one of them would like to die first. I mean, you can say, oh, sometimes the 9-year-old girl might, perhaps. But generally it was the man who died first. And the whole purpose in having the woman throw herself on the fire was so she would not be a burden to her family. Without a husband to take care of her, the family would not have to. So she would get rid of herself. What's that? What's that? Well, okay, yeah, hey, folk, we got to understand these people. By our standards, it sounds loused up. But now keep in mind, talk about child marriages. This practice went on in a lot of the world, and it is known that the Prophet Muhammad himself had a 9-year-old wife, and she lived only a few months after they married, and when she died, he died shortly thereafter. He died mostly probably from a broken heart. But you might think, doesn't this show, by our standards, it's pedophilia? But keep in mind that their lives in those days were short. When the average lifespan was 22 or 23 years, so they felt like they didn't have the time in their life that we had. So, and again, we can criticize it, but you've got to try to put yourself back in the time period they lived in. And if the neighbors were doing it, if their ancestors had done it, they didn't see anything greatly wrong with it. I mean, I'm not saying it was right, but again, by their standards, by their way of thinking, there wasn't much wrong. All right, anybody have any comments?